the wedding gift that revealed a family secret. The music box clicked once, twice, then coughed up a folded letter that smelled like cedar and old church air. Do not say, I do, until you know this. I was Isla, 31, school counselor, maid of honor to my younger sibling Rowan. And, as of tomorrow, their efficient backer-upper if the pastor's sinus infection returned. We were at the rehearsal dinner in a cozy restaurant where the wallpaper had tiny pears, and the ceiling fans stirred up the kind of hope people order with sparkling water. The tag on the box said it was from Great Aunt May, gone last winter, but forever buying us things that hummed. Rowan was laughing at the far table with their fiancée, Jules, while Mom, Elaine, hovered between tidiness and glitter. I slid the letter into my lap and read faster than anyone could notice. A case number. A locker key number. A warning written in May's slanted hand. The story we told you is not completely true. My mouth went dry. The last time a note changed my life, I was 17, and a girl wrote, "Thank you for getting her into counseling." That one made me braver. This one made me cold. I pictured walking over to Rowan and saying everything out loud, but I also pictured Jules's mother panicking about table assignments and the cake sweating under the lights. If I slowed the train, everyone would feel the brakes. If I didn't, we might be racing across a broken bridge. The music box's tune, something like a lullaby, suddenly sounded like a countdown. I folded the letter back into cedar and whispered, "What exactly am I supposed to know?" Family lore in our house came plated beside mashed potatoes. Dad's, "We met at a street fair" story starred a runaway balloon. Mom's, "You were the easiest baby" story starred a cradle that squeaked like a question. When Aunt May visited, she always hummed the same lullaby and ran her finger along my wrist as if checking a seam. Elaine collected keepsakes like they were proof that love was documented. Birth announcements pressed in plastic sleeves, a silver rattle with our initials, a photograph of a nurse in the background giving a peace sign. Last week, during centerpiece assembly, I joked that our family tree has too many ornamental birds. Elaine had smiled, the kind that takes up residence in the corner of your mouth and refuses to pay rent. "We don't need to dig," she said. "We need to celebrate." The fresh wound. When I asked for the name of the hospital that delivered me, Rowan was born at St. Gertrude's. I was born 2 years earlier, supposedly at the same place. Elaine changed the subject to frosting. It seemed small then, a mother's right to keep romance in focus. Now, with May's letter burning my thigh, the silence felt like it had shape. I excused myself, took the box to the hallway lined with framed celebrity diners, and wound it once. A false back loosened, clicking like a limit switch. Behind it, a tiny envelope. To Isla, for when you are brave enough to read everything twice. I stared at the envelope and heard Elaine's voice say, "Let the past stay buried." The envelope held a photocopy of a hospital bracelet, white plastic, stamped letters. Mother, E. Stone. Infant, female Stone. Date, 06/07. My birth certificate says June 4th, not 7th. The engraving on the silver rattle reads 6/04. I took out my phone, opened the photo of the rattle from Elaine's heirloom album, and zoomed in. The 2 is smudged like someone corrected a 4 once upon a time. Next, a Polaroid of a nurse holding a swaddled blur. In the background, a wall clock whose minute hand sat between numbers that shouldn't exist at that hour according to the certificate time. The signature on my certificate always looked like a puddle drying. On the copy in the envelope, the same name is inked clean, the loops older, steadier. I told myself I counsel teens through panic daily. I can counsel myself. My chest didn't agree. The case number in May's letter started with amend, something you only see on revised records. I thought of Rowan's freckles, our matching left-handedness, how we laughed like coins rolling in cups. Nothing about us felt counterfeit. But anomalies accumulate like lint. Engraving, clock, signature. I returned to the table and tried to swallow grilled salmon with the ease of someone whose future wasn't opening a trapdoor. Rowan clinked a glass and said tomorrow would be simple, just love and cake and a playlist that forgave the 90s. The music box's key in my bag pressed my hip like a reminder that simplicity is the first thing secrets eat. I watched Elaine refill a water glass and smooth a napkin that wasn't wrinkled. May's letter mentioned a safe deposit key and a branch number I recognized from errands with her. The small bank near the post office where the pins were anchored by tiny chains and the manager remembered your dog's name. I excused myself with the universal gesture of a person who urgently respects bathrooms and walked to the parking lot. Summer air heavy with maple and speculation. My phone buzzed, a text from Elaine, "Stay with the party, honey. Don't stress." The don't felt like a touch on the wrist. In the glove compartment, I kept my responsible friend kit. Phone charger, mini stapler, sticky notes, and, apparently tonight, courage. Jules's mother stepped outside for fresh air and offered me a peppermint like a bribe from the kind future. "Big sister nerves?" she smiled. "Always," I said, pocketing the mint like evidence. I drove the 6 minutes to the bank, rehearsing a sentence that wouldn't alarm a teller. "I'm here to access my late aunt's box. I have the key. I have ID." The lobby's carpet whispered, "Be specific." The clerk checked the signature card, nodded, and led me to a small room with a felt pad that smelled like other people's secrets. Inside box 312, a thin folder labeled Stone, ISLA, amended, a Xerox of a notarized letter with a commission date 2 years after my birth, a Polaroid with Aunt May's handwriting. Clock says 2:17, certificate says 1:05, ask why. There was also a sealed envelope to Elaine that said, "You know why." My lungs forgot choreography. The clerk knocked with the kind of courtesy people use for locked stalls. I slid the envelope toward my bag and wondered who else had a key to me. I didn't take the envelope. I took a photo of it and the outside of everything, time-stamped, with the bank's wall clock in frame for chain of custody. I could hear Aunt May scolding even now. No accusations without documents. No documents without logs. Back in the car, the music box's key rattled like a metronome, and I set my phone to record a quick voice memo. Isla Stone, 7:42 p.m. Box 312 accessed with key labeled May. Contents photographed. One sealed envelope to Elaine left in box. Intention to return after consultation. As if my future self might need to remember I meant well. At the restaurant, Elaine found me by the bar and touched my shoulder like a police officer choosing comfort or caution. "Stay present," she said softly. "It's Rowan's night." "It will still be," I said, which is the sort of half-truth that only feels generous if you've never had to change a plan in public. Rowan clutched my forearm and whispered that Jules cried at the rehearsal because the pastor pronounced their surname like a song. I laughed in the right place, cried in the bathroom in the wrong one, then dried my face and returned to the pairs on the wallpaper, which now looked like punctuation marks. When Aunt May was alive, she'd tell stories with a wink, then say, "There's a second ending you don't know yet." I texted Mr. Alvarez, the county archivist I've brought muffins to during research weeks. Emergency question. "Tomorrow a.m. first thing?" He replied, "Bring case numbers, bring calm." The lullaby from the music box wormed into the playlist like it had always belonged there. Elaine caught my eye across the room and mouthed, "Please let this go, Isla." Morning broke like a deliberation. I met Mr. Alvarez at 9, muffins in hand, adrenaline and everything else. His office was a museum of timestamps, ledgers, a map with pins, a sign that red dates are facts that sit still. I handed him the case number from May's letter and the photos from box 312. He adjusted his glasses, hummed the first 6 notes of some 19th century tune, and started typing into a terminal older than my sense of certainty. "Amended certificates happen," he said calmly. "Corrected typos, name changes, adoptions, donor disclosures." He glanced up. "You look like you expect an earthquake." "Maybe a tremor," I said. He opened a binder and pulled a form with my last name and a docket line. Late registration. Original record sealed by order. The notary commission on the letter May had copied? Mr. Alvarez cross-checked. That commission didn't exist in the year stamped on my certificate. Either someone used a later notary to authenticate an older event, he said, or someone wanted the date to look like something else. He printed a public summary, the kind they give without breaking laws. My hand shook enough to make the paper stutter. "There's also a hospital bracelet with E. Stone," I said. He nodded toward a blue binder labeled bracelet logs, a thing I didn't know existed. Maternal initials were logged per batch shipment. The batch number on my bracelet copy corresponded to a week that didn't include June 4th. This could all still be clerical slop, he offered. Or someone tried to hide a different truth. He clicked to a restricted note and said, "You'll need a parent to unseal this." I drove to the family house. the one with the attic that grew shut like a scar. Elaine was at the dining table, rearranging escort cards like a general adjusting troops to a better hill. I need you, I said, and she looked up with the relief of a woman craving a normal crisis like ribbon shortage. I need you to come to records with me. Her smile deflated. No, it's about me, I said, keeping my voice steady, counselor slow. It's about a sealed note Aunt May left and a late registration on my birth record and a notary stamp that time traveled. Elaine pressed her lips together as if words were sugar she'd decided to give up. This is not a wedding day conversation. It is exactly a wedding day conversation, I said. Because consent is part of vows and I won't be a hypocrite standing beside Rowan if I'm ignoring a thing that could change everything. She closed her eyes. Your father wanted simplicity. Dad wanted cheerful, I said. You wanted order. I wanted you, she snapped, and then softened like a curtain touched by a breeze. I wanted you so much I did not care about the choreography. The attic door creaked in the silence. Rowan texted a string of hearts and a photo of the florist van arriving. Elaine gathered her keys, then paused. If I walk into that office, she said, some stories don't come back out the same. I held the door and answered. Then let the ones that survive be true. Mr. Alvarez met us with that gentle bureaucratic dignity that saves cities. He explained the request. Elaine would need to authorize viewing amended records and sealed notes related to my birth. She signed with a grip that could crack teacups. He slid the folder onto the table like a meal for two. Inside, a photocopy of an adoption consent. Not mine, but a relinquishment from a woman named M.R., with a birth date near Elaine's, dated 3 days before my certificate date. A clinic receipt from a fertility office that did not exist when Elaine says she conceived. A typed letter from Aunt May with the subject, if love needs paper. The letter laid it out in plain sentences. Elaine miscarried twice, then used donor sperm to conceive me. She feared her husband would not believe in donor conception. A relative had been a donor years earlier. Aunt May urged disclosure before the children love and marry. My ears filled with the moth-wing sound of blood moving badly. Isla, Elaine whispered. I wanted you to have a simple origin story, not a brochure. Who is the relative? I asked. Elaine's silence had edges. Mr. Alvarez, not unkind, placed a brochure on the table. Genetic counseling, when families need facts. There's also a donor registry code, he said, showing a printed email. Rowan's wedding program clipped my peripheral vision from Elaine's tote. Our names in script like we were characters in a book that hadn't met the editor yet. Is the relative related to Rowan? I asked, and Elaine's hands trembled. We stood in the parking lot like people in a diagram labeled before impact. Elaine stared at an oak tree that had stopped being decorative. It was your father's brother, she said finally, voice a threat. He donated in college, a bank nearby. Long before I met your father, the clinic said there were safeguards. It was supposed to be anonymous. May found out because she always finds out. My body did a math I didn't want. If Rowan is Dad's biological child, and I am donor conceived by Dad's brother, then Rowan and I are first cousins genetically, siblings legally, raised as siblings. That does not make Rowan and Jules genetically related, I told myself, because Jules is from a different family entirely. The wedding's legality is safe. The risk is me and any children I might one day consider, and the story we've been using like a map. Why didn't you tell us? I asked. Elaine's eyes filled with a storm that had waited 31 years for landfall. Because your father believed blood made a family real, she said. And I believed raising you made it real, and I was afraid those beliefs would crash and you would be the wreckage. I texted Dr. Klein's clinic number from the brochure. She answered with the merciful punctuation of a professional. Come now, bring the documents. Rowan does not need to be present. I sent Rowan a message, running an errand with Mom. All okay. Love you. It was half true and fully loving, and both felt insufficient. Elaine squeezed my hand and whispered, Please don't hate me when you see the chart. Dr. Klein greeted us with the voice you want on a bad day. Warm, procedural, no false comfort. She spread the documents like a card game with rules you can learn. Donor-conceived children of close relatives are not unheard of historically, she said, especially before clearer ethical guidelines. The risks are in 2 buckets: health screening that may have been inadequate then, and consanguinity if partners share unexpected relatedness. The second doesn't apply to Rowan's marriage unless Jules is secretly family. She smiled gently to defuse my panic. But it does matter for medical history and identity. She swabbed my cheek for a quick panel to flag known recessive issues and handed Elaine a consent to release the original clinic intake forms if they exist. You can marry, love, live, Dr. Klein said. You also deserve accurate paper. She wrote down an online donor sibling registry code that matched May's envelope. You might have donor siblings in the world, she added, and they might have medical updates you need. Before we left, the receptionist jogged after us with a printout. Rowan had called the office twice while we were in with Dr. Klein. My stomach attempted somersaults without training. Outside, Jules's mother texted a photo of the altar greenery and the caption perfection. The timing felt like a joke told by fate with good comedic instincts and bad taste. Rowan's third call lit my screen as the sky started to look like weather. I answered, expecting catastrophe, bracing for flowers on fire. I found your box, Rowan said, voice tight. Aunt May's music thing. It played the creepiest song, and Jules thought it was sweet, and I thought it sounded like a warning, and then the bag popped open. Did you get a letter? I exhaled like I'd been holding my breath since I could spell my name. Yes, I said, and I went to records with Mom. And to a counselor. We need to talk. Rowan's inhale was a whole paragraph. Do we need to cancel? My eyes found Elaine, who was staring at the clinic's fish tank like it held metaphors. We might need to pause, I said carefully. Not because you and Jules shouldn't marry, because we deserve truth before vows. I told Rowan the headlines without the worst-case italics. Silence, the long kind, parked in my ear. I don't care how we're real, Rowan said finally. I only care that we are. But I won't walk down an aisle you think is paved with a lie about you. It's not about shame, I said. It's logistics and medicine and the story we hand to future kids if we have them. Rowan laughed through tears. I chose Jules because they do paperwork immediately, they said. We'll do whatever the counselor says. We agreed to meet in the vestry with Mr. Alvarez and, if possible, Dr. Klein on video. I hung up and tasted relief that felt like rain after a siren. Then Elaine's phone pinged with a message from Dad's brother. Do not open boxes. We gathered in the church vestry, a small room with vestments like tidy flags and a radiator that ticked like a metronome trying to be pastoral. Mr. Alvarez propped his laptop on a hymn book. Dr. Klein's face appeared in a rectangle that made compassion look pixelated but still real. Rowan and Jules held hands like they were both skydiving from the same sensible plane. Elaine stood 3 feet away from Dad's brother, Uncle Peter, who had breezed in with the confidence of a man who believes being early counts as honesty. Don't embarrass the family, he began, which is a phrase that should come with a warning label. Mr. Alvarez laid out the documents without adjectives. Dr. Klein explained donor conception and ethics then versus now. I said what I needed, that love is stronger with facts, not weaker. Uncle Peter's mask slipped an inch. We helped your parents have a child, he said, and now you're turning gratitude into a spectacle. Elaine's eyes cut like glass. You helped on the condition that we pretend it never happened, she said, voice shaking. I have pretended for 31 years. Rowan squeezed my shoulder. Jules cleared their throat and asked the only question that matters. What do we need to do to make this marriage honest? Dr. Klein recommended an addendum to the ceremony acknowledging chosen and biological truths. Mr. Alvarez suggested affidavits for the sealed record and a request to amend my certificate properly. Uncle Peter scoffed, "You'll ruin a perfectly good day." The radiator ticked, and I said, "We'll ruin it less than a perfectly good life." The fallout of pausing a ceremony is measured in glares per minute. The pastor, bless him, offered the vestry as a waiting room, while Jules's mother moved chairs like a symphony of reassignments. Some guests rolled their eyes, others rallied like volunteers after a storm. On social media, a cousin posted pause for a family emergency with a dove emoji, and people behaved like they always do, half compassion, half curiosity sharpened into rumor. In that room, we did triage. Rowan and Jules decided to hold a smaller, honest ceremony today with language we could live with, then a bigger party later. Elaine signed the request to unseal and amend. Mr. Alvarez notarized what he could. Dr. Klein emailed a template paragraph for vows. We choose each other knowing the truths that shaped us and the truths we are still learning. Uncle Peter left in a huff that smelled like old secrets. In the quiet after, Elaine told me the rest. The miscarriages, the afternoon she sat in parking lots pretending errands, the way Dad loved me without caveat, and the way she feared he'd love me better if he never knew. I didn't tell her she was wrong. Love is messy even when it's honest. We printed a simple program addendum. Rowan asked me to read it. My voice shook anyway. When the doors opened, the congregation saw nothing flashy, just people choosing the kind of clarity that looks small and ends up huge. In the back pew, I saw Uncle Peter return with a folded paper in hand. He walked down the aisle without invitation, waving a letter like a flag that didn't belong to any country I recognize. "This says none of this can be released," he hissed, handing it to Mr. Alvarez as if clerks take orders from uncles. Alvarez read, then calmly said, "This is a photocopy of a policy sheet. It cites no statute. It binds no one." Uncle Peter's outrage felt like a performance losing its audience. Jules's mother stood, politely powerful, and guided him to the side aisle with the force field only mothers at weddings can produce. The ceremony resumed. I read the addendum, voice steadier now. Our family's love was built by intention, support, and, sometimes, silence. Today we add the facts that make consent real. We accept grief where it rises. We choose to be the kind of family that does paperwork and hugs in the same breath. People cried, but it wasn't the panic kind. When it was done, applause sounded like relief discovering it can be loud. In the hall afterward, Dr. Klein called. My quick panel showed a recessive risk that mattered for me, but not for Rowan. She recommended a follow-up and a note for any future partners. It was practical, the best kind of news on a day that had already used up its drama allotment. Elaine hugged me with the ferocity of an apology. "I should have trusted you with hard things earlier," she whispered. Mr. Alvarez slid over the amendment form and said, "Ready to sign the truth?" I signed, and it felt like setting a heavy box down gently where it belongs. We ate cake off paper plates in the church hall, our napkins little flags of ordinary. Rowan and Jules danced in sneakers because fancy shoes are liars. Guests took home centerpieces and a story that would retell itself softer over time. After the cleanup, Elaine and I drove to the bank together. We opened box 312 and lifted out May's sealed letter to Elaine. Mom read it silently, tears mapping corners she never dusted. May had written, "If love needs secrecy, it is already limping. If love needs paper, give it paper and rest your fear." We left the letter in the box as a monument to the hour the music stopped lying. At home, I placed the music box on my shelf and wound it once. The tune didn't sound like a countdown anymore. It sounded like a lullaby that had learned the second verse. Here's what I know now. Names are promises, not proofs. Paper is an instrument, not a god. The past is not a grave but a library with special collections that deserve white gloves. If you are standing with a gift that says don't say I do until you know this, know it. Then decide. Love can withstand facts. It cannot survive pretending forever. Tomorrow I'll call Dr. Klein, and next week I'll meet with Mr. Alvarez to finalize the amendment. Tonight I'll sleep. The wedding gift revealed a secret, and the truth turned out to be love.